Hello.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good.
You
All
stay
right.
you staying away from the forest fires down there?
Forest fires, I don't know about.
Oh, seriously. I'm up in the bay right now, so the forest fires are pretty bad. Dang, that is a badass office.
It's virtual.
Oh, wait, that's a virtual office?
No.
Oh, I was like, I actually believe you for a second. That's funny. That's just a TV screen, right? Not an actual aquarium.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. The Michael Jordan of Dentistry. Seriously, thank you so much. So,
No. Thanks for having me.
yeah, of course. So, to get things started, I'm curious, like, when and how did you know that you were interested in dentistry? Like, I feel like you've kind of found your calling through dentistry. You've done it for over 30 years. What was the first little inkling that you remember of being interested in dentistry?
Oh wait, are we actually starting now, or this is kind of a pre thing before we start?
This is actually starting.
Oh, okay.
If that's cool, or do you want to chat for a little bit beforehand?
No. We can go right into it. Usually people like read the little intro and all that, but
I'll do that before like when it's done and it's all
okay.
yeah before
Just so
it comes
you know, the name of my company is Discus Dental, not Discuss,
people have
because
gotten that
people
wrong.
sometimes do that.
Okay.
And I mean, I'll just go ahead and answer your questions. Two things I do want to talk about at some point. I want to talk about my Leap Foundation.
Of course.
You know about that, right?
Yep. Yep.
And also my podcast, the Meet the Mentor one.
Okay.
Okay?
Awesome.
But I'm ready. Let's go.
Cool, man. So yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things about this podcast is we kind of follow people's journey throughout their life, and I think people can learn stuff from all different stages. But a lot of people who listen to this podcast generally are earlier on in their careers and trying to figure out exactly what they want to be and who they want to become. And so we try to pull those lessons from.
Is this filmed at all, or it's just audio?
It's filmed as well. Yes.
Okay. Cool. All right. I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. Well, good. Okay. Perfect. So yeah. So I mean, just going back, what was the first little inkling that you remember of being interested in dentistry, and why you wanted to get into it in the first place?
I mean, I could literally say I fell into it.
Interesting.
I was a little kid. I was like 3, and I had this horrible accident in my family room at home, and I hit the table, spinning around, playing Ring Around the Rosie, and I hit my baby teeth so hard that instead of knocking them out, I actually pushed them back up into the sockets that they had grown out of. And so I had to have multiple surgeries to correct that and make sure my permanent teeth would grow in perfectly and all that. But along the way, we just had a really great family dentist. And instead of me being freaked out by the whole thing, I actually became intrigued, and I wanted to hang out in the dental office and, really kind of learn more about the profession. And, at some point I just thought, wow, this is so cool. I want to do this for people. And that was the inception.
Interesting. So were you born and raised in LA then? Was this in LA?
Yeah, I was. I was born in LA Hospital, grew up in LA. I lived in LA most of my life. When I went to dental school, I was in San Francisco. And then after that, I did a residency program in Switzerland for 2 years. So that was awesome. I learned how to ski and speak French. And
dang, all the good stuff to do when you're young. All the French girls. So, what was that like? What was that like going to school over in Europe for dentistry? Did you get to travel around a lot, and how did that kind of play into your development as a person?
Well, first of all, I didn't go to school. What I did was I did a residency program there. Mm-hmm. So I was actually already done with school. And I know a lot of your listeners are young people that are trying to figure out, where to go and what to do in life. And I need to give you a few little tips along the way. Mm-hmm. When I was in dental school, I thought I love dentistry and I want to practice dentistry, but I grew up pretty poor. We had never traveled. I had never seen any part of the world. And I thought, if I'm going to start practicing dentistry, I'll never really be able to travel for long periods of time.
Yeah.
And so I heard about this program in Switzerland. The problem is they only took one dentist a year and they had 400 applicants. Now, why should they take me? They shouldn't. I had no experience. I didn't speak French. I was nobody special. And, it was really early on that I realized that successful people are willing to do the things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do. So what did I do? Literally, I had every instructor in my dental school who knew me write a letter of recommendation. The best way to get a great letter of recommendation, by the way, is to write it yourself. So I would ask them to write a letter, and they'd kind of look at me like, not another letter. I'd say, hey, I'll write it if you'll just personalize it. Great. So I probably submitted at least 10 or 15 letters of recommendation. On top of that, I called the director of the clinic pretty much weekly, just getting an update, seeing if they had selected anybody, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
When all of that didn't seem to be working, I did something, and I teach a program we'll talk about in a little bit called LEAP. And I tell students there will be life-defining moments. Sometimes you plan for them, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they just happen. I had one of those happen with this guy. I was on the phone with him, and I really realized I was getting nowhere with my letters and my calls and everything. He was completely uninterested. And then I said to him, hey, can I take you to lunch? He's like, lunch? You're in San Francisco. I'm like, I know, but I'll fly out, which was really a joke because I was broke ass poor broke. Like I had no money. So I didn't even have money for a ticket. Like really, a ticket to Switzerland? But he's like, sure. It was a life-defining moment. I flew out there. I took him to lunch, and he hired me.
So how were you able to come up with the funds for that then? If you were,
I borrowed money.
Oh
from my
wow!
grandma.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And it changed the course of my life. But I was the only one of 400 applicants who did that.
Wow.
So guess who got the job?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that, especially in today, even when you look at silly things like Instagram, what makes things go viral? You do more, you do something different, you stand out. I mean, that's the real key to success. You need to really be unique and special and different and do things that unsuccessful people just aren't willing to do. Mm-hmm. If there's two things that I try to really stress at the LEAP program, like if you get nothing else out of my LEAP program, which is, by the way, it's typically a week-long motivational leadership program for students 15 to 25, and it's phenomenal. This year we did it virtually, and it was still phenomenal. But typically it's at UCLA live. But if there's two things that I can get you to walk away with, I feel I've done my job. Number one, don't wait for opportunities in your life. Make them. If I meet another person who tells me they're waiting for the universe to show them the way, I just want to shake them and say, look outside. The universe is pretty busy, and it doesn't care about you. Okay? Number two, when you get an opportunity in life, don't take it. Master it. And there's a big difference. Look, I grew up knowing I was meant to be a dentist. Like, of all the things I do professionally, there is nothing that comes to me as naturally and easily as dentistry. However, when ABC put me on their show, Extreme Makeover, which was one of the first reality shows on TV, I realized really quickly that I was not born for TV. Like, I literally stunk. They should have fired me. If you watch the first 2 or 3 episodes, you would go, why is this guy on here? He's that bad. But instead of sitting there and wallowing in my misery, what did I do?
Change.
I took acting classes, hosting classes, teleprompting classes. I hired a media trainer, the woman who works with the kids on American Idol, to literally teach me how to interview, how to talk. Stuff that I knew I needed on TV. I didn't need that stuff as a dentist. As a dentist, you just need to have good hands and, drill. Mm-hmm. But by my being on Extreme Makeover, our company almost quadrupled in size. I don't know if you know this, but I invented Zoom.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I got the description about you, which is incredible.
Yeah. Not Zoom video conference.
I know, yeah. For the people who don't know, yeah.
Right, but our company started off. We did like 2 million, 4 million, 8 million. We kind of just plateaued at like 76 million. We just couldn't break that barrier. There was Crest White strips and all these other things out there. Mm. It wasn't until I got on ABC's Extreme Makeover that we jumped from 76 million in sales to 101 to 136 to almost $200 million in sales.
Wow.
Why? Because instead of just kind of taking an opportunity, I learned how to be the best version of me I could be, because I saw that there was a direct relationship to my presence on TV and our company sales.
Hmm. That's super interesting, because I feel like the analogy you use for you going over to Switzerland applies to your dentistry as well. Like, maybe there's 400 dentists, but there's only one who's willing to be personal with their people, who's willing to, kind of go the extra mile with dentistry, right? I think you're a perfect example of that, and that's a testament to why you're so successful. Maybe you feel that way. I don't know.
I think that another thing that's really important is this. I've been interviewed by hundreds, maybe thousands of people. I mean, from podcast to TV to radio to you name it, right? I don't know if you're familiar with this, but when you're on Ellen or Rosie or The Tonight Show or any of these like talk shows, what they'll do is you go there and they stick you in a room with a producer and they'll interview you for like an hour. And then they pick little bits and pieces that they think their audience is going to like. They kind of go in there, it's like a shotgun, and they'll ask you all kinds of things, and then they'll hone in on the stuff that they know their audience is going to like, right? Mm-hmm. There's only 2 times in my professional career that didn't happen. First is Larry King. He doesn't tell you. When you're on Larry King live, it's live, and you have no idea what he's going to ask, which is scary because it's not just live, it's live worldwide live. Mm-hmm. Second one is Oprah. Oprah has such an enormous team of people doing research and checking things out for her. She knows you. Like, when you're on there, she knows you, and she knows what she wants to ask. You don't. She wants your raw, unfiltered answer. So when I did Oprah, and this was back in like 2005, the phrase outside the box was not common. In fact, it was the first time I heard it was from Oprah, and she said, "Doc, your career as a dentist is so unique and so different. What inspires you to think outside the box so much?" I honestly had never heard that phrase before. And I looked at her and I said, "What box?" And we just cracked up. And that literally defines not just my career, my whole life. I don't get it. I don't get why people box themselves into things. Mm. I just don't get it. I think you need to be successful. You need to not box yourself in anything and really think outside the box. Really think, I'm not the smartest person you'll ever meet, but you put me in a creative meeting, that's where I flourish. And that's what you really need today. Mm. The old way, like the way I grew up, learning in school was basically memorizing stuff. You know, you don't need to memorize stuff anymore. We all have computers in our hands. Look it up. You want to be successful, you got to be creative. In 1921, when Einstein got his first Nobel Prize and he was being lauded for his brilliance, he said, you know, it's not my brilliance that got me here. It's my creativity.
Beautiful. Wow. That is so true. That was a wonderful story. Thank you so much for sharing that, making it so personal. So going into your entrepreneurial ventures, you're the founder of Discus Dental, so one of the leading dental companies in the world. And from my understanding, it's the umbrella company for some of your inventions, right? Like Zoom, as well as BriteSmile. Is that right?
Correct.
So what was the impetus for starting some of these technologies? Because these are groundbreaking technologies. I mean, for example, BriteSmile, I think, is used by every single influencer on Instagram, right? So it's a super popular product. So what was the impetus for going into these entrepreneurial journeys, and how did you find so much success in them? What was your secret to finding success, if there is one, or is it just hard work and consistency and being creative?
I mean, the story of Discus Dental is this. We started that company with nothing. I mean, back in 1988, 89, tooth whitening was in its infancy. And I was literally one of the dentists. I was doing more in-office tooth whitening than any other dentist in the world. Mm-hmm. And the reason I know this is because the company that I bought my product from called me and told me that. And when I got him on the phone, I'm like, while I have you here, I have some ideas to make this product better. It came in a plastic bag with, like, it didn't look professional. You don't even know what I'm going to say right now, but there used to be 4 Xerox machines came out. There was another machine called a mimeograph.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
And you've never seen it because you were born like 100 years after that. But literally, when you would copy papers, mm-hmm. It didn't even come out. It came out on this really like flimsy, shiny, whitish paper with like a bluish writing on it, and and after like 3 or 4 weeks, it would fade. Like you couldn't keep a document for like years. Like within weeks, that's how they packaged it in plastic bags with these. And the taste was awful. The delivery, and I'm sitting here thinking, this is not so much a dental procedure; it's a cosmetic procedure. Mm-hmm. You should package it to look like a high-end cosmetic. And so I'm telling them all this, and they're like, "You're 29 and you don't know anything. Shut up and go away." Right? Yeah. Well, throughout my life, I've had this recurring theme where every time I have literally philanthropically wanted to help, I ended up making money. Like without that being the intention, call it the universe, I don't know. It just happened. So I was at the gym working out one day, and this woman comes up to me and says, "Would you like to help raise money for children's cancer research?" Yeah, who wouldn't, right? She goes, "You are a dentist, right?" I said, "Yes." She goes, "And you're single, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, but weird." She goes, "Well, we're doing a bachelor auction. We need 10 guys and we have 1,000 women to buy you." I'm like, "All right, I'm in." Honestly, the bachelor auction was really stupid and kind of humiliating. However, the guy in line next to me is my best friend in life now. We met in line there. His name is Robert Heyman. He's the son of Fred Heyman. Fred Heyman literally created Beverly Hills. He was a master marketing genius. Mm-hmm. He had a very popular line of cosmetics at the time called Giorgio, which he sold to Revlon. He had a popular store called Fred Hayman's at 273. It's now where it's right on the corner of
Rodeo?
Cannon and Rodeo. Yeah, not on Rodeo, one street over.
Okay.
But but the point is, Robert grew up in the cosmetic industry. He knew cosmetics, he knew manufacturing, he had an MBA, he knew business. And together, Robert and I formed Discus Dental. And we created our first product, which was Night White. And Night White was a take-home tooth whitening product. Eventually, Night White was taken over by Zoom. And then we were competing with BriteSmile. And we had a very amicable relationship with the company. And we ended up acquiring BriteSmile for $65 million. And that way, our company owned all the IP on in-office light-activated tooth whitening worldwide. And then we sold that company to Philips in 2010.
Wow. The BriteSmile?
Sorry?
BriteSmile you sold to Crescent?
Yeah, so we owned BriteSmile and Zoom. Those were the two in-office light-activated tooth whitening systems, and we sold that to Philips in 2010.
Wow. Incredible. So going on to a little bit farther down your bio here, you've received 20 Lifetime Achievement Awards and 2 Guinness Book World Records. What is that? First of all, what are 20 Lifetime Achievement Awards? And then in what area are the Guinness Book World Records in?
Well, you want me to list all 20?
Oh, no. Well, just like general areas of what they are.
Usually, it's from, the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry. A lot of what I did in dentistry was just really trend-setting and,
thinking differently,
breaking down barriers. And look, prior to me doing Extreme Makeover, dentists never got positive, media coverage. It was like Little Shop of Horrors and Marathon Man. It was always horrible. It wasn't until I did Extreme Makeover where dentistry was really highlighted in a very positive, uplifting way, where it showed all the great things we could do to change people's life and health and appearance. And so it was a really groundbreaking thing for dentistry. They estimate that cosmetic dentistry increased by over 30% as a result of that show. So,
wow.
I got a lot of recognition for that. And then later on, I got a lot of awards for LEAP. LEAP is a motivational leadership program for high school and college kids. Our next program will be in 2021. Hopefully it will be live. It will be the 18th to the 24th. And we basically teach kids the skills they need to be successful in life. And we bring in amazing speakers. Every single one of my patients that I've asked to participate has said yes. From Usher to Anthony Hopkins, Mark Wahlberg, Eva Longoria, Kathy Bates, Michael Strahan, Apollo Ono, the most decorated Winter Olympic athlete in the world. On and on and on and on. And basically what we do is we teach these students the skills that they're going to need to be successful in life. And we say it gives them a 7-year head start on life. And so 60% of the kids that come to LEAP come from impoverished families, but these are really good students, like A and B students. Mm-hmm. So I've also received a bunch of awards for what we've done with LEAP.
So could you go a little bit more into LEAP then? A little bit more about what that curriculum must look like, and people who are interested, where could they find out more about what LEAP is?
It's pretty easy. If you want to find out more, just go to www.leapfoundation.com. Here's a phone number that you can call as well. We will put on a program this summer. Now, because of COVID, this year we actually did the program virtually. And where we typically get about 400 students, this year we had over 1,000 students. So I think going forward, we'll do the program always as a hybrid, where it will be virtual and in person. So there's actually no reason not to go. If you're 15 to 25 and you want to really be inspired, we teach you job skills. We teach you how to apply for a job. We teach you how to communicate. We teach you networking. We teach public speaking. I even do a whole program on fitness and health. I do. Oh man, it's just it's a really robust curriculum. I do a whole thing on drinking and driving and appreciation and leadership. Just you gotta go on the website and see. It's really phenomenal.
And what are the costs associated with is it?
So if you go to the live program, it's $2,500 for the week. If you do the virtual program, it's like $450.
Okay, so it's a week-long thing then. Awesome. Wonderful. Well, hopefully, I'll make sure to post a link to that in the bio below with the dates as well, so people can find out more information.
Yeah, and one of the things that you can do if you're interested, leading up to it, I started a podcast called Meet the Mentor, and a lot of the interviews that I've done at Leap are on here, and they're really, really phenomenal people. I just did Jason Alexander from Seinfeld, Paula Abdul, Jonathan Bennett. There's a lot of really interesting, fun people that have some really great tips on how to be successful in life.
Mm-hmm. So going to your podcast, how'd you come up with the idea to start it? And what has been some of the great things about your podcast that you've learned, but that have also helped you?
Here's the funny thing. So I launched the podcast in January, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're number 1 in the world in Yemen.
Wow.
We're number 2 in Iceland. We're number 3 in Finland. And I'm 94th in a category of 47,000 in the U.S.,
wow.
Which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
So I had been doing these interviews for years and years and years, and somebody came up to me and said, hey, you should do this as a podcast. And so they helped produce this. So I work with the whole team, and it's been pretty phenomenal. And, that's the other thing is like, social media, right? That's not my thing. I'm a dentist. So I have a social media team. I'm the only dentist in the world who has like 1 million followers on social media. Mm-hmm. And that's not because I'm running it. I don't run it. But I hire really good people who curate my content, put the stuff out there, make sure it hits the Explore page, make sure it grows. Mm-hmm. And as a result, I get tons of patients from social media. I also have gotten some really lucrative influencer contracts because I didn't just dabble in it. I thought, if I'm going to do it, my motto is, when you go big. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it the right way.
It seems almost that you're more like a people person than a dentist. And maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like you're so good at connecting with people and, telling great stories. And I think maybe that goes hand in hand with building a great following and going on social media and ultimately having a great dentist practice as well.
You have to be a people person to be a good dentist. Think about it. Most people that come to the dentist are scared.
Totally.
So how do you get somebody to trust you? It's like the old saying, you got to have the sizzle and you have to have the steak. You need to have enough sizzle to get people in the door, but the steak is the delivery. You need to deliver, and if you don't have both of those in whatever business you're in, you'll fail.
Mm-hmm. Very true. What are some of the things that you've done for the sizzle and the steak for some of your businesses, like, for example, Discus Dental?
Well, I would say at Discus and in my dental practice, our goal is to not meet your expectations, exceed your expectations. Mm. Look on Google. I have 1,850 5-star Google reviews. Wow. No other dentist in the world has that many. Mm. How do you get those? A, by giving people great service, and B, the most powerful word in the English language. 3 letters. You know what it is?
I don't know. I love you.
No, 3 letters.
Oh, 3 letters. Oh, Yes.
A-S-K.
Ask. Okay.
Ask.
Yeah.
When patients come up to the front desk and my office manager, who's a genius, says to them, how was your visit today? And they're like, oh my gosh, he was this, he was that. And then when they say all these nice things, she's like, hey, would you mind giving us a Google review? Bam. How do you get 1,850 Google reviews? You ask for them.
Interesting. But when you provide that great experience, it's almost like a no-brainer for them to go and do it, right? They just need that little catalyst.
Right, but they're not going to just intuitively do it.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, how many people just walk up to the front like, oh man, I'm going to give you a Google review? I mean, some do, but if you ask, you got a much higher chance. And here's the part that I didn't even know was a part. By having 1,850 five-star Google reviews, when you check out the SEO on my website and everything, I come up first.
Damn. That's crazy.
If you look for a cosmetic dentist this side of the Mississippi, you're probably going to end up with my name because of that.
Wow. And was that something that you realized going ahead of time, like this is going to improve my SEO, or kind of a consequence?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm sure that's tremendous. Like, people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to try and boost their SEO. It's something you've just done kind of organically, and it's incredible.
Here's what happens. I'm a big believer in mastermind groups.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a mastermind group of dentists. We've been meeting for 20 years with these guys, and they're really phenomenal. They've got some of the most successful practices in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And we meet every month, and we basically just review best practices, like what's working, and we all kind of boost each other and help each other. So we serendipitously did this little contest to see who could get the most, 5-star Google reviews, just as kind of a contest between us. Yeah. None of us knew that there was going to be this strong relationship between Google reviews and SEO. It was more just, let's see who can do it. One of my friends who won actually has more 5-star Google reviews now than Disneyland.
Oh my gosh. That's
he
impressive.
Blew it out. But he also has 30 practices. I only have one.
And how come you only have one? I would have thought you would have had a couple. Or is it just mainly for the branding of like this, or just it's manageable?
You know what? It's a lot of work, man.
It is,
if I were, do you know how old I am?
In your 50s? You look like you're my age.
No, I'm 61.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time, dude. I don't need to have 10 practices.
Yeah.
Life is too short. I want to live too,
Yeah.
So, no, I have one practice. I practice dentistry about 20 hours a week. And the rest of the time I just do charity work.
Interesting. What do you do for fun? Like, do you play? I mean, you're very active, of course.
Well, when COVID's not around, my typical winter is every other weekend I go skiing. I have a house in Deer Valley, Utah, so I go there and I ski. And in the summertime, I scuba dive a lot. On top of that, I go to the gym every day, even with COVID. We have a really good one in my building that's safe and, isolated and all that. And I bike ride. I mean, I'm pretty active. I like to do a lot of stuff.
And that actually landed you on the cover of a pretty prominent fitness magazine, didn't it, recently?
Yeah, I was just featured in GQ magazine.
That's impressive.
I think I'm the oldest guy ever photographed shirtless for GQ magazine. I don't know.
Dang, well, that's super impressive, honestly. How has fitness impacted your life? Like, is this something you've always been, a passionate advocate for, or?
It's kind of funny, the whole fitness thing. I've always been an athlete. I was as a kid, I played football and, Pop Warner football, and I did Little League and all that. But the sport I really took a liking to was swimming. I was a really, really strong swimmer. And so I swam through high school when I got to UCLA, I had to choose dentistry or swimming.
Mm.
There's no way I could do both. I mean, swimming in college is like double workouts. It's like 4 hours a day. There's no way I could do it.
Mm.
So, I stopped swimming, but I had a little bit of a basic background in gymnastics as well. So I continued on as a UCLA yell leader, and I would tumble and stunt at football games.
No way.
Which was fun. And then when I started dental school, I really wasn't exercising much, and I started having a lot of back and neck pain from doing dentistry and bending over so much. And I realized that the more I exercised, the better I felt. And then I also realized I can't practice dentistry if I don't exercise. Like, my body just doesn't work well. So I started exercising more and more, really, so I could practice dentistry. Mm. And so the goal was never to be like a fitness guru or anything. It was really more, stay healthy, stay balanced, and stay strong. So
that's interesting you say that about swimming. I ran track in college, and some of my good friends were swimmers, and they, like, you never saw them. Like, the workout schedule was just absolutely insane, like 4 hours a day. So I totally understand that decision. Was that a pretty difficult decision to make? Like, I feel, because when any athlete leaves their sport, it's usually, it's tough for a while.
Well, no, it wasn't difficult. Look, I grew up really, really poor, and I'm like, swimming was not going to pay the bills.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, I was a good swimmer, but it certainly wasn't going to get me an apartment or pay any bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I always wanted to be a dentist. That was my priority. So it was a pretty easy decision to make.
Got you. Well, that's super important. I think, like, especially after this whole COVID pandemic, fitness is going to be much more at the forefront. I think in the U.S., obesity is such a bad pandemic that I think it's going to be more, at least people are going to focus on it more, right? To be healthy and to live a healthier lifestyle, eat healthier, work out more, stuff like that. So,
I agree.
So it'll be interesting to see. So another thing that I thought was super interesting is that you were knighted by the Royal Order of Constantine. What was that like, and how did that come about? That's a very unique thing. That's something you'd see in like a movie. Like,
I know, right? So it's funny. It's right here.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
There's the certificate. There's the sword, and there's the little medal and all that. That was really an honor. I mean, I am Dr. Sir William Michael Dorfman.
Do you have that in your emails, Dr. Sir William, at the bottom?
Yeah, that's it. It was really cool. I mean, basically, they recognize you for excellence in your profession, mm-hmm. and then what you've done in philanthropy. So it was quite an honor.
Dang. And so, for people who don't know what that is, what is being knighted?
Well, I mean, I'm officially. It's a title. I mean, it's something that has come up through the ages, and it's a way of just bestowing honor on people for
the great work they've done. Yeah,
that's cool.
Dang, that's super cool. And so you mentioned that you're really big into philanthropy, and that's kind of been taking up a big chunk of your time nowadays. What are some of the causes you're most passionate about and that you give most of your attention and time and resources to?
Well, I mean, definitely LEAP. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've, this would have been our 13th year at UCLA. Unfortunately, it had to be virtual, but we put a lot of time and energy into creating really the best program we can for these young students. And every year, it's just such a phenomenal event. And I'm always so touched by, the amount of people who help contribute. Look, I couldn't afford to pay Mark Wahlberg and Anthony Hopkins and, Usher and like Paula Abdul, Eva Longoria. I couldn't afford to pay these people to come and speak at a program. Mm-hmm. They all do it for free. Yeah. Even our mayor, Eric Garcetti. I mean, it's really, really phenomenal. The amount of people who, give their time because, like me, they believe that, our youth is our future, and they want to help.
What has been some of the most impactful stories you've heard from people who've kind of gone through the program, and how it's impacted their trajectory and their life through the LEAP program?
One of the things we teach at LEAP, and I don't know another program in the world that does this, we teach appreciation. Mm-hmm. We give the kids a little blank pad of paper that says, I appreciate, and then there's a space underneath and then lines to write. So let's say, like, I appreciate Dr. Bill for blah, 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 mm-hmm. right? Last year at the live program with 400 kids, I got 400 I appreciate notes.
Wow.
And 99% of them would say something like, hey, I appreciate Dr. Bill and the LEAP team for putting on this phenomenal program, blah, blah, blah. LEAP changed my life. And I know it did. Now 99% of the kids will say that. 1% will say, hey, Dr. Bill, LEAP saved my life. And I know it did. Mm-hmm. There are kids that come into the program lost. They've got no family, no support, no friends, and they really need a community, of people, and we provide that. The second you walk in the LEAP, you're put in a group with 10 other students your age, and you're with those same 10 students all week. And our goal is to help you guys stay in that unit for at least a year outside of LEAP. Mm-hmm. So it isn't like, like we do our 1 week and then we're done. It's not like a one and done deal. We try and put you in a small mastermind group so you have these 10 students to be in your corner for you for life, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. That's super impactful because I feel like, especially today, the depression rate amongst kids in the age group that you're targeting has gone up incredibly. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but I think it was around like 60% reported depression episode, or I don't know the exact window, but I think that's awesome and noble.
The thing that really was an epiphany for me was to see the tremendous rise in anxiety. Kids today, a lot of them suffer from anxiety, a lot. And here's the crazy thing. I didn't even know what anxiety was growing up. It wasn't even a thing.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and when I was growing up, if you had told somebody you had anxiety, they'd be like, what? It wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
And now I would say 50% of kids suffer from some level of anxiety or more.
Mm-hmm. Well, does ADHD fall into that category? Because I know that I'm sure in the when you were growing up, that wasn't as popular.
ADHD, that didn't even exist when I grew up either.
Exactly.
There was no such thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm curious what you think about that, because I find that some of the greatest entrepreneurs of our day, have had that or have been classified as that now, or when they were growing up, it's
a funny thing because I'm going to tell you a funny story.
Okay?
30 years ago, when I started practicing, I had a young woman who worked for me, who was a friend of mine in Switzerland, and she immigrated to the U.S. with her husband. She was from the Czech Republic, which was a communist country at the time. Mm-hmm. And they escaped, and they got into Switzerland, and they tried to get political asylum. The Swiss wouldn't give it to them, so they came to America. So she shows up here, and she only speaks Czech and French. Well, it's not easy to work in the U.S. if you only speak Czech and French.
Totally.
Fortunately, I was fluent in French, and she was very, very gifted as an artist and with her hands. And so I hired her as a dental assistant. And so she worked for me for 30 years until she retired last year. Well, I had another assistant who was American, and she was super, super moody. And one day she was just like really, really moody. Mm-hmm. And I was there. There just wasn't a name